Hello, everybody. I'm Reginald Simmons, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice at CCSU, and also a licensed clinical psychologist here in Connecticut. And happy to be here and talk about the initiative that Awilda and I collaborated on along with a few other people at Central. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, and she's going to kick things off.
All right, so we're going to start. Yes. This picks up him if he's wearing
Yes.
it. Okay. So, and we want to yes. Oh, so
switch.
we have to switch.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, Reginald, thank you for being a gentleman.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right.
Is that good?
Can you hear?
Did I miss?
Yes, and you want to keep your right hand on, then we switch it back.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, so should I stand in a, move
You
around?
can move around.
Boy, this
It
is,
follows you.
this is technology for us, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to start off with the introduction. Okay.
You want to advance the slides.
Yeah, Reggie's gonna. So I'm gonna start off with the introduction, okay? As one of the things is that we started off with the minority enrollment at CCSU, as we're all aware, has increased over the years. And 20% in 2014 is compared to 17% in 2006, okay? However, six-year graduation rates at Central African American and Latino students lack those of CCSU white students, and the overall student body consists of the following. I mean, we can all see this, right? 54% white, we've got 52% overall student body, and 45% African American students, and then finally 39% of Latino students. Okay, we've got our next slide. Okay. So as we're looking at the trends, this reflects a common problem across the country where African American students and Latinos enrollment has increased dramatically, but graduation rates are lower than the student body average, okay, according to the Journal in Blacks in Higher Education. Past research has demonstrated that college students receiving mentoring earn higher grade point averages. And we quote Campbell and Campbell, and obviously have higher retention rates. And we're going to demonstrate that to you. So there was a group of us at CCSU, and our Minority Success Consortium, we got together and we submitted a proposal to Academic Affairs, the Provost, and the Center for Africana Students Center, the Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice, which is under Reginald's initiative, my department, the Education Opportunity Program, and the Latino American and Caribbean Center. We all worked on it collaboratively. So what was the target population? Okay. The target population, as we mentioned earlier, African American and Latinos, sophomores with at least a 2.0 GPA. A significant time of attrition is after the sophomore year, right? They get loaded up front, freshmen, but then by the time they're sophomores, what we observed was that we're losing them for whatever reasons. Invitations were emailed to target population in the late summer of 2014, okay? Letters were followed by phone calls were done, and direct referrals from the university faculty and staff that were familiar with the population. So in other words, we knew, we had the background of our students, we knew who we were calling, who we were contacting, et cetera, and this is where we started the initiative. You pass it on to Reggie from here.
Pass the baton.
And I can't put it on you because I am 5 feet tall.
Reminds me of my old days of running track. It was a little bit smoother in the transition.
Yeah. And I used to run track, but I didn't.
You did tell me that. That's right. Okay, so I want to talk about the initiative and then present some initial results of the initiative, and then I want you to hear from the mentors themselves, actually. So I'm going to show a video clip where the mentors talk about the experience of being a mentor in Success Central and also the impact that they feel they've made with their mentees. So success coaching. We worked as a consortium to determine what would be the most appropriate intervention that we want to adopt. And success coaching is an intervention that has a fair amount of evidence suggesting its success in retention and graduation of students. So we worked with Dr. Kathleen Shea Smith, who at that time was the Director of Advising at Florida State University. She is now the Associate Provost of the University of Oklahoma, and she developed the success coaching model that is a pretty robust model at Florida State. So we made contact with her, and she agreed to come to Central and train the coordinators, two of whom are Awilda and myself, and our mentors in success coaching. And to her knowledge, it was the first time that undergraduate students were trained in success coaching. To her knowledge, for the most part, postgraduate professionals are trained in this model. But we wanted to train undergraduate students in this model because we felt, and this is also research-based, that upper-class undergraduates that are successful can be good mentors to underclass students. So juniors, seniors mentoring freshmen and sophomores. So this is kind of an innovative way of using success coaching. So we had SCI implementation. Let's see. So just a little bit about how this was implemented. We had mentors that were matched with mentees based on similarities in race, ethnicity, background, and experiences. Mentors saw the mentees bi-weekly, every other week, and we held group supervision with the mentors as well every other week so that we can support them in this role as mentors to the sophomore students. Mentors did receive a modest stipend 3 times a year. They received a smaller amount at the end of training. Training was beginning of the fall semester. They received a larger stipend at the end of the fall semester, and then a final one at the end of spring. It was a modest amount just designed to recognize that the mentors were striving to be professional and responsible in their role as coaches to the mentees. The mentees did also receive a gift card to be used at the university bookstore at the end of the fall and spring. So at the end of the fall, they received a small gift card to support purchasing books. As we know, students often struggle to purchase books, so we felt it would be a nice recognition of their dedication to receive a gift card at the end of the fall and again at the end of the spring. That's a little bit about how the program was implemented. If you have any questions later, I can also talk a little bit more about the initiative. So paperwork, we developed forms for this initiative. Very important so that we can kind of track progress and also what is happening in the sessions between the mentors and the mentees. So we had an intake form that was developed to capture some basic demographic info about our students. We also developed with Kathleen Shea Smith a pre-post assessment of college experience and academic skills. And this was a document that was based on research regarding what supports retention of students at university. We wanted to assess their sense of belonging to the university, their perception of their own academic skills. How did they feel about their own abilities as students? Also, their involvement in campus life, also an indicator of success for students. The more involved a student is, the more likely they are to succeed and graduate. So we tried to tap into many of these variables that have been demonstrated to affect success of students. And we administered this pre-post when they first started, and again, actually at midpoint and also at the end of the spring semester. We developed session notes. So we tried to really kind of model this after a kind of a clinical intervention where you take notes at the end of each session. So we developed notes that the mentors were trained to use to capture information at the end of each session with their mentee. Oh, another very important thing. This was a very kind of action-oriented work. So the mentors saw the mentees for 30 minutes, just 30 minutes, every other week, right? And that was because the model is designed to be one that can work with the schedules of our mentors and mentees. Students are often busy, many have to work, so it's designed to be a very efficient but effective use of time. So that 30 minutes is very busy and very action-oriented. I'm gonna go, let's see. A little bit more about, I mentioned in a prior slide, this notion of teaching them how to fish. So many of us have heard of this old parable that you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but you teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever, right? Well, success coaching is a nice kind of example of that parable. The goal of the coach is not to tell the mentee what to do, right? The goal is to, in this space, to help the mentor identify what goals do you want to accomplish this year? And what do you think are the challenges to achieving those goals? And what can be done to address those challenges? So the mentor is working with the mentee collaboratively in a plan to address those challenges, whatever they might be, financial, family, time management, study skills. It's a very collaborative model. At the end of each session, an action plan is developed, and the mentor is to try the action plan, and then when they come back in 2 weeks to review how the action plan went. If there are any problems, then they tweak the action plan, develop new steps, and then come back in 2 weeks to see how that went. So it's a very action-oriented way of working with students in an efficient manner. Okay. Let me go back to where we were. All right, so speaking of challenges, so I mentioned how the session notes captured information. And one information, very important information that the notes captured were the challenges that the mentees experiencing. And we have some sample challenges that are derived directly from the session notes that the mentors completed with their mentees. I want to kind of summarize some of these challenges that students reported. So there were academic challenges. These are some examples. One is difficulty balancing school and work. Many of our students do work long hours, and very little time to devote to schoolwork, one academic challenge. Many having problems with particular courses kind of stood out as kind of common courses that many of our students had trouble in: math, English, Spanish, psychology, accounting, chem. And this third challenge reflects this notion of belonging and connectedness to a university, which has been shown to be very important for student success. Another common challenge was detachment from campus life because they're unaware of events and clubs on campus. So these were reported by the mentees in their conversations with their mentors during these success coaching sessions. See, some folks are writing. I always try to pause, to go back to my classes that I teach, pause and give students a minute to take it in. Okay. And I'm happy to send these to anybody who would like copies as well. You're like, yeah. Happy to. So just relax. All right. Then there were family and financial challenges, of course. So mentees reported challenges as helping family with bills. We have students, as many of you probably have, who are literally helping to provide funding for their family. They're helping to take care of their family. And that's a challenge for some of our students. Feels pressure because, this is actually directly from a session note with one mentee. Feels pressure because he has people depending on him, right? A lot of responsibility sometimes that our students have. Feels overwhelmed by the responsibilities imposed by their families, such as having to help with home expenses and provide care for relatives or siblings. And another one, popular one, is car problems. Car problems. My own mentors wanted to come here and be here in person, but coming from Central to Housatonic, for many students, is like going to Dallas, Texas. So what they agreed on, we were trying to problem solve what to do, and so we agreed to videotape their testimony to the project, which I'm going to show a little bit later. So car problems can be a common challenge for students. So this is the work that's done, right? So they identify, well, what are the challenges to achieving your goals on campus? Then each session note captures the action steps to address those challenges. And this is all done in every session. So this is what these are your challenges. What are some action steps that you can pursue to address these challenges? I want to give some sample action steps. Reducing work hours. So the mentor talks to the mentee, well, so you're working 30 hours a week. Do you really need to work that many hours, right? What's the minimum that you can work to take care of your bills, but also allow you to study, have more time studying? So they talk about this, and there have been times where mentees have either decreased their hours or they've changed jobs, right? And sometimes that job change involves moving to a job that's closer to campus, which is huge. That allows them to have easier access to classes and maybe even become involved on campus with activities. So the mentors work with them on how they can kind of curtail the hours worked.
Reginald,
Yes.
I have an example that one of the young ladies that was a mentee had 3 part-time jobs. And so we had to define for them through, like Reginald had mentioned, through coaching the mentors, how do you deal with that? Because they didn't know how to, I can't tell them to leave their jobs because they're helping parents, cost of living or even bringing milk and bread to the table. So the mentor was able to say, okay, you have federal work study on campus, so how can we work with, maybe looking into maybe providing you with maybe additional funds or finding you a job where you're on campus, because the mall would pay more, okay? Anywhere, the restaurants pay more. And so it was a whole bargaining. It takes a you think it's simple, but you have to train the mentors in order to be able to convey to the mentees proper information, because the whole goal is to retain them.
And through that biweekly intervention, there's room to do that, right? Because this is not a one-time deal, right? They're seeing these mentees throughout the academic year, so that leaves room to kind of challenge a little bit the students. Other examples, a mentor provided advice on job search, as Awilda mentioned. Accompanied student to financial aid office. We actually had students that would walk with their mentee to the financial aid office to kind of understand, well, what can be done about their financial aid, right? Accompanied student to counseling and wellness to get help. One of my mentors told me that their mentee reported to them that they thought they had an alcohol abuse problem. So the mentor actually walked the student to the counseling wellness center, and the student entered counseling and got to a better place, right? So some of this involves literally kind of walking the student to these resources, again, to foster that sense of connectedness that, according to research, shows is very important for student success. So a big part of the job was kind of connecting students to the resources on campus that are available to assist the student. Mentor set academic goals with all mentees. We had one mentor last year that worked with all his mentees on a particular GPA, all right? And so they said, okay, let's all work on this GPA, right? And so I'm gonna work on my GPA right along with you guys. This is kind of a mutual goal that they set with each other. A mentor linked student to a relative working in the desired occupation. So mentee wanted to work in victims advocacy. And the mentor had a sister who worked in victims advocacy, so the mentee connected the mentee to his sister to learn more about this job. And how can you go about securing a position in victims advocacy? So again, very kind of active interaction and work with the students. Mentor aided mentee in structuring time. Big issue for many of our mentees. Time management, especially when you're working multiple jobs. You have family obligations. So the mentors would definitely work with mentees on kind of aiding the mentee in how to manage your time to free up time to study. And again, these are actual action steps directly from the session notes that I'm showing you that the mentors worked on with their mentees. We'll have plenty of time for questions, by the way, at the end. Okay. So what are some outcomes? I want to cover some outcomes of these action steps that were also recorded on the session notes that the mentors used. So these are actual writing that the mentors wrote on these session notes. So student reported making the dean's list last semester. all right, exclamation mark, right? So we're giving you exactly how it was reported to us. She's doing great, got accepted to the nursing program. Many of you know nursing programs, they're not that easy to get into, right? So that's like a big deal to get into a nursing program, right? She's more involved on campus. Again, that belonging is huge, right? She's more involved on campus. She attends dorm events, hall meetings, and RA activities. She also joined a club called Circle K, which I'm not sure what that is, but it's apparently a club. All right. Another note from an actual session. Good first session. Student found that we share a lot of similarities, and she feels that she can relate to my experiences in college and vice versa, which is huge. We tried to match our mentors to the mentees. We tried to match by race, ethnicity, by background and experience. And for example, I was talking to Dr. Barrington about how we tried to match mentors who would transfer students to mentees that transferred in. That's kind of a unique challenge, transferring into a four-year university. We tried to match mentors who had gone through that with the mentees. So that sense of connection and experience was really huge for our mentees. And I heard this multiple times, where the mentor would tell me that the mentee feels like, you kind of get me, right? You've kind of gone through what I'm going through, and how that was really important for the relationship.
And
Yes.
another example of that is that the female in the Latina culture, it happened to me, letting go, living on campus, right?
Mhm.
Because you have to stay home, close to your family. You're still the caretaker. And in this case, having because they were upperclassmen, our mentors, okay, having that Latina student speak Spanish and connect with the mentee's parents, it made the process smoother for this Latina young female to say, you know what? I mean, Mom kind of said, I got it. It's okay, right? But it took the process in terms of getting to know that this is the similarities that we're talking about.
Awesome, awesome. So another action outcome, created a schedule for her entire week, allowing enough time for homework and study. There's another action or outcome of an action step that was developed during the prior session, right? So there was some suggestion, make a schedule, the mentor probably modeled for the mentee how to do that, and the mentee came back and the mentor reported that what she actually did is she created a schedule for how to manage her time during the entire week, freeing up time for homework and study. So again, the mentor doesn't do the work for the mentee. They just create the space to allow them to kind of think about what they can do to be more successful, to address these challenges that are kind of getting in the way. So, little sketch of the program, and now I want to cover some initial results, right? This is a one-year pilot intervention that was funded for 1 year, and so we're presenting some initial results here. Questions so far?
How many
Yes.
students are in the program?
Yes, good question. So in the first year, 39. 39 students, all African American and Latino, 38. 38.
It's on the next slide, by the way.
Yes, correct. Yep,
Good question.
38, all African American and Latino students representing a variety of majors. So 38 sophomores served. Yep, you're on point. 22 African Americans, 16 Latino, representing a variety of majors, representing 15 majors across the campus. So these students came from a lot of different departments and majors into our consortium.
What percentage
Yes.
were men versus women?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I don't have.
It didn't say a he pronoun.
Yeah, you know what? I actually.
For my folder, I can speak for mine, we had, 1, 2, 3, we had about 4, okay? And then the other one's female, but good observation.
I'm
It's
just.
a trend I've heard throughout the day, that
Ah.
nursing support services and male students are hard to get to the.
Yeah, I'm just doing a quick look. I'm just doing a quick look at the students.
They think criminology is such a popular major, that's for our students of color, especially our Latino. African American?
I would say there are a bit more females than males. Yeah. I would say, I don't have the exact numbers, but yeah, I would agree that there are probably more females than males. Yeah, good question, good point.
I have a similar question about the demographics.
Sure.
How they're funneled into that program. Who's providing the demographics as far as, you're talking about the matching?
Yeah. So we worked with the registrar's office, and they gave us data on all sophomore African-American Latino students that had at least a 2.0 GPA. And so we had a list of students, their addresses, their emails, so that we can contact them to invite them to the initiative. So they self-identified through their registration. You bet.
It was on a voluntary basis, by the way. But once
Yes.
they got that personal touch, I think that was, it made them get involved.
Yep.
So building on that, sticking with the males, of those that were approached to be involved, how many chose to not take it?
That,
And
yep.
the reasons why.
Yep. I would say, I don't have exact numbers on that. I don't have exact numbers on that.
What about any feedback on the reasons why they chose not to?
Yeah, I would say a couple of anecdotes. One is feeling like don't have time for this. Another is maybe I don't really need this, was another comment. So I think those are a couple of comments that I heard multiple times. I also heard a couple of comments from young men that did get involved, which is, I need all the help I can get. All right? So the opposite, exactly. And what I can say is that the students, once they met with their mentor, they were pretty hooked. They were hooked. It's just a matter of getting them to that first session, because we chose mentors that, we interviewed them, right? So we chose mentors that need to be motivated, enthusiastic, personable, but also successful as well, successful. We also, I think we also interviewed them to see what was their trajectory through college. They have it easy, there were some challenges, and we kind of like to see students that have gone through some challenges, just to really kind of role model that. So I'd say that for the students that if they came to that first session, then we had them hooked. Just a matter of getting them to that first session.
To address your question in terms of the males, the ones that my office contacted and I spoke to, they were, some of them were already connected. So they said, between job and connecting with the MAN initiative, with certain mentors from different clubs, or even faculty, they were connected to faculty. So again, it was, we wanted to, but we left each of our offices, the Africana Center, the Latino, Reginald's area, and mine are open in terms of, if they needed something, to rely back on us.
I'm making a point to break down gender in the future. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
And was that tool that Kathleen helped you to shape, was that for your mentoring and interviewing piece or something else, the assessment tool?
Oh, yeah, good question. So she worked with us on developing our pre-post assessment of college experience and academic skills. So we developed a Likert scale that we administer to the mentors, to mentees, pre-post, pre-mid, and post.
Both the mentors and mentees too?
Just the mentees.
Okay.
Just the mentees, yes.
But you started off with only the coordinator. So in other words, we kind of implemented a system where she asked us, what is it that you would like to see? Along with her she trained us. And then we were able to involve the mentors, okay? Followed by then we had another session with everybody, but without the consultant. So, we were really thorough about bringing everybody together.
If time allows, I can show the items that were part of that scale, if time allows. Okay? Yes?
How do you choose the mentors?
Oh, so mentors, I'm going to comment first. And I'll
Okay,
go.
again, because there were 5 different departments involved. So the way, I'm sorry. I'm not used to, okay, so the way we chose the mentors, we identified upperclassmen, okay? So in other words, all of my 5 mentors that I had are all graduating in May, okay? Which is good. It's excellent. High GPAs, leadership, you better know your campus, navigate the campus, right? You need to know, you need to know a lot of people on campus, you need to be connected, right? And in my case, if they spoke Spanish, out of the, at least one or two spoke Spanish, that was an advantage, so we can communicate with the students if they chose to be, if they wanted to choose, speak Spanish, right, when they were having coffee, or the designated areas where they could meet with the students, right, because there were do's and don'ts. We also looked at, and obviously grades, and the mentors that I chose, they were my own federal work-study students, student workers, that I've hired throughout the many years since they were freshmen. So I knew them inside out. Okay, so that's the kind of, that was the criteria that I think most of us, unless your criteria was a little different, but.
It's close. I think so I chose, I oversaw the cohort in the criminology department. And the reason I was interested in this initiative was that at CCSU, criminology is the most popular major among Latino students and the second most popular among African American students. So we have a pretty nice cohort of African American Latino students. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes.
Why do you start with sophomores and not?
Good question. So, all right. So, sophomore year is a time of high attrition. So is the freshman year. But the sentiment expressed by academic affairs, who was involved in the development of this initiative and who funded this, was that freshmen have some resources, right? FYE experience, orientation. And when students get to their sophomore year, a lot of those resources aren't there, right? They're gone. And also sophomore year is that year when a lot of students who maybe the bloom is off the rose, so to speak, right? The first year, yep.
They don't declare a major.
Yep. So first year, I'm a freshman, I'm here, good. Maybe they have some challenges academically. They come out for their sophomore year, classes get a little bit harder, and then students kind of hit a wall and think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here, maybe I don't belong here. And the support isn't as robust as it is for freshmen. So the suggestion was that we focus on sophomores, given that there might be a particular need for sophomores. So limited funding, we had to focus somewhere. So we've had to put our limited resources to bear on the population that seemed to need it the most. And also one of the things that studies seem to just, that as students get through that sophomore year, they're more likely to stay and finish. So that's another reason why. That sophomore year is really pivotal for student success. So we want to support those students. All right, so effect on retention. Here's what we did. So that's kind of the big question, right? How does this impact retention? So we looked at the sophomore to junior retention rate of students that went through Success Central in 2014. That was our year. We had 38 students. Sorry, that's actually a little inaccurate. We had 38 students, and 92% of those students retained to the third year, meaning that they re-enrolled for the third year. We compared that to the 3-year average. So I've learned that at the CSUs, retention is really measured by 3-year average enrollment, right? So I used that as a metric. So I looked at the 3 classes of sophomores prior to 2014, looked at African American retention, Latino retention, and all CCSU sophomores. And as you can see, even though this is a small sample size, admit it, right? It's a start, it's an initial pilot. So even though I recognize as a caveat that small sample size, but given that, you can see that our retention numbers are higher than the other cohorts, right? So all sophomores had an 86% rate of returning for their third year, 89% for Latino sophomores, 78% of African American students come back for their third year. So that really is problematic, right? But we have a 92% retention rate of students coming back. All African American and Latino students coming back for their third year. So I've spoken to people who study retention, several people, and they feel like anytime you can get above 90%, that's like really good apparently. I say, really? Yeah, oh great, all right, we'll take that. So apparently getting above 90% is really good in retention. So we're really pleased that to have had these numbers, even though it's a small sample size, but we think that given that it was first year intervention, pilot study, to have this retention is very promising and kind of merits further expanding and developing the model. Yes?
So maybe you just lost one student, that's why you keep going back from that 38 to 39, and what was
Yeah.
the students that left, that one lost sheep?
Oh, didn't leave. Actually, it seems like we somehow, it's a he. He was double counted somehow. Yeah, so.
You have 100% rate, no, retention?
I th-
I think it's better, right?
maybe. I have to examine that. Maybe. I'll check on that. Perhaps, but we'll go with 92%. But thank you for mentioning that. Yes?
Were all these students, do they live on campus?
No.
No.
No, I don't know the percentage that live off campus. I believe we may have captured that in our intake form. One thing that we want to do is really drill down and do some more in-depth analysis because we have the data, and I believe we captured on the intake form where they live, and we also captured whether they are Pell Grant status as well. So we really want to kind of drill down and really identify the categories of students that may have particularly benefited from this more than others. But I'm not sure of that number. I can tell you that, no, not all of them lived off campus, on campus.
What
Yes.
we can consider is that we had some that were commuters and some that lived on campus.
Yeah.
And some that lived in the, because my two African-American mentors were mentees, served the mentees that lived in the apartment buildings.
Okay, yeah, I guess more
Because
specifically,
one specifically lived there with them.
how many
Yeah.
lived home?
Yeah, Fidel lived with them in the apartment building. So there were commuters and they were, now in terms of breakdown,
How many lived home with their families?
Yeah.
I don't have the exact numbers. I know we definitely had mentees that lived at home, definitely, and a decent percentage that lived at home, that were commuting.
Yes,
Yeah, a
absolutely,
decent
yes,
percentage, yes.
yes.
How many live at home and how well integrated they are to the activities in the college?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Just, in working with my mentors, it's challenging for the mentors, the mentees, sophomores, to be involved in campus when they either live at home or they work outside of campus. It's a challenge.
Because according to the EOP program, okay, we have 187 students. Our data has, our students are living back home or in apartments. It's not where 5-10 years ago, it was 80-90%. They chose residence life because of the cost of tuition, et cetera. So we're decreasing in terms of students staying on campus.
Apparently, it's cheaper to live off
And
campus.
it's cheaper, yeah. So
Apparently.
more and more. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that, but it's just the cost. They can't afford
And it's
it.
ironic because,
They're
again,
living in communities. They're choosing to live, in buildings and they're sharing cost.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ironic because the research says that living on campus is good, but yet it's overwhelming financially to live on campus. So it's a little bit of a rub there for our students. Yep. So 92%, I want to move on to make sure that we get this rest of the presentation. So we're really pleased with these initial retention results, and we definitely feel that merits further support. Cost effectiveness. So I'm not an accountant, but I took kind of an initial stab at getting some measure of cost effectiveness. So I am operating the intervention again this year in my department, and Academic Affairs awarded me a $9,200 grant, and we're serving 20 students in criminology, so $9,200. In-state tuition at Central is $9,300. That's just tuition, not room and board, in-state tuition. So by my calculations, if we have a 92% rate of retention of the students in my program now that go into their junior year, the university will net an additional $11,160 in tuition next year due to this initiative. All right? $11,000 due to this initiative. So a $9,200 program will net the university $11,000 because that's more students will be retained than the average CCSU rate of retention if we hit that 92%. All right?
That's going to be a good basis for increasing your grant in subsequent years.
That's my hope. That's my hope, is to show the dollars and cents, right? So the initiative actually can make money for the university while also increasing student success, which is the main goal, right? It's increase student success. So we're addressing success in a cost-effective way, right? 30-minute biweekly intervention. It's not a lot, but it's intense. But it's the relationship ongoing that seems to make a difference for these students, right? So here's what I want to do. I want to have you hear from the mentors. I want you to hear from the mentors, and then we'll wrap up and field any questions that you all have. So I have about a 4.5-minute video clip that my mentors who are working in CRIM right now made. And actually, one of the mentors edited it. So this is her work you're seeing. She edited it to have it kind of flow smoothly. All right. Let's see. Yeah. No, that's not it. Go down. Where did it go? Okay.
And being a part of Success Central's initiative is definitely something I pride myself upon.
Good afternoon, I'm Lamar Bowski. I'm a mentor for the Success Central initiative.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm a Success Central mentor.
Let me just say, it's funny, my guys are both soft-spoken, but the ladies are a little bit louder. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. So.
I've been in the program for a year as a mentor.
Success Central program. I'm extremely proud to be part of this program because it was starting to help African American and Latino in college to make sure that they follow all the way through.
I think the program is a great program for people who just need that extra help, especially since a lot of our mentees are students who are the first in their family to go to college. We help them establish short-term goals and short-term changes, and ultimately it leads to individual growth.
Program. I was also a mentee myself 1 year, and it really helped me to stay on track with my work and sort of balance schoolwork and working. It just really helped me stay on track and make sure I was doing everything that I needed to do, make sure I was getting all my work done, make sure I was getting things done on time. And that's really why I became a mentor. I just felt like I could really make a difference in somebody else's life and even made a difference in mine.
As an African American, I think it's important to help other people continue the college career because of potentially changing their lives, having a part of it.
During our sessions, I would give mentees, advice going to their professor's office hours, habits like that. Short-term changes leads to the achievement of long-term goals. They need extra help on having to navigate, all the things that go wrong in college. I had one mentee who really struggled with trying to work out the financial aid, and we were able to help her organize a meeting with the financial aid officer here at Central and make it so that she was able to come back the next semester instead of having to take a semester off.
Being part of the criminal justice program, a lot of us are like adherents who have most of our mentees. So we have experience and guidance that we can offer, help them selecting courses, giving them ideas how past professors have conducted themselves during class and help them test taking and studying habits, and also just giving them real life experiences.
And when I was in this program, I actually had my best semester here from having a 2.8 GPA to getting my Dean's List as my second semester in the program at 3.86. So I really believe that the program can help and that I can help somebody else's life.
that she needed to take, and she was very motivated to do better, and we were able to help her, you know, take steps like going to a tutor or going to her professor's office hours more to help make sure that she was able to do well in the class. And she was able to pass the class and get a B. They strive to get that 3.5, get that teens list, and you know, they become that person. Sure. And it's really rewarding to see. Success Central not only has benefited the mentees, but the mentors as well. I didn't expect that.
The Success Central initiative has also helped me as a student because my first year being a mentor, I think that you have to lead by example and set the example for your mentor. So you have to practice what you preach.
I found myself, you know, heeding my own advice, and I'm even put in situations where I'm like, what would I do to my mentee right now? It really, truly did shape me as a person.
Being on top of my game and providing an example for the mentees, showing them that applying yourself and continuing your goals, you can also achieve them if you put your mind to it.
Okay. I didn't coach them at all. I just told them, hey, you know, what do you think about videotaping? They said, yeah, good idea. All right, so how about you guys think about the impact that you think you've made on your mentors and how the program has impacted you? And that's it. And brought my iPad and we taped. So it was totally coming from them. I'm no Spielberg. Right? So the volume wasn't great. But that's just a little clip from our mentees. All right, so I want to kind of go back and just to wrap up and then definitely fill any questions that you guys might have. I'll show quickly the Likert scale that we developed with Kathleen. And these are some items. These are the items from the scale that was administered pre-post because we wanted to see how the intervention impacted academic skills and college experience. And what I have here are the items in bold, 13 items. The items in bold are the ones that were moved in a positive direction from pre-post. These changes aren't significant statistically, but they do indicate a trend towards improvement. So the first item, I feel that I belong to the CCSU campus community, 4.05 mean in September to a 4.30, so that moved in a positive direction. Professor supportive of my goals, 3.82 to 4.02. Voices heard during class, 4.10 to 4.21. Handling financial responsibilities, that's huge, so 3.28, 3.31. Confident in my study skills, 3.90 to 4.15. Managing my time well, also huge, positive trend. Handling stress levels, also big, also a positive trend on those items. Persevering through the challenges of my major, believing that they can get through their major, positive trend here, 4.0 to 4.31. Understanding how I can connect my current major with future career opportunities, 4.15, 4.30. So positive trend on multiple items, majority of the items, 9 out of the 13. And you might find that some of these items that were not positive, in thinking about this, I think what we found that for some of these items, we wouldn't expect some change. For example, for number 11, I'm happy with the choice of my academic major. Some of the work that my mentors did with the mentees involved deciding, is this major really for you? Right? And if not, helping them think through a different major, right? So if they're being happy with the choice of my academic major, that went down, but for some cases, the students changed majors. Right? They may have changed to a different major. But to have a positive trend on the majority of these items, we think is very promising.
The other items, when you look at the scale, notice some of the key words too. Hey, let me give you an example. You know, the whole thing about self-confidence, right? 'Cause that's a big one. Coming into college, like the family, remember? Sometimes we separate higher education when it comes to African American Latinos. We disconnect from families, and some want to be, they want to know what's going on. And then comfortable with asking questions in the classroom because they don't know how. they don't know how. So in meeting with a mentor, you know, this is how you go about it. This is how you, because remember that for some cultures, authority is so important to them. I can't question. Okay? So the mentor, being an upperclassman who had experienced some experiences going into seeing a faculty, was able to incorporate and convey to that mentee, this is what worked for me. Okay?
Yep. And here's what I think. Here's what I think. It was a 5-point scale, right? So our students were fairly high initially on these dimensions, right? Initially, and yet we still saw some positive movement in the right direction, even though they were initially high. And I think that means that we probably could have been very effective with students that were even lower on their perception of their skills, right? If we had positive movement among students that were already thinking that that thought very well of their skills, if we had students that had a lower rating on these dimensions, we could have an even bigger impact on those students, right? It's kind of what I suspect. Yes?
Information could also, where you had declining scores, some of that information or some of the ratings could have been due to changing expectations on the part of the student.
Okay. Yeah, good point. Good point.
Looking at, you know, I'm comfortable, my family encourages me to attend and graduate from CCSU. What is my expectation of what their encouragement should be?
Yeah.
That could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, and you're right. And for many students, it may be a realization that my family may not encourage me, but I can press on, right? And that becomes part of the work. Yes, exactly. Very good point, which can come out in the work. Yes?
I worked on a project at Southern with the Nessie, and you can build, once you find some of those questions that you've already tested, could be added to your Nessie if you want to do the pre and post.
Okay.
So they're captured twice, I think they said with the freshmen and then the seniors. So you can start, if you find, you know, in your discussions, when you do your evaluation, some of those questions can be added to your Nessie, because you're going to then bring your Nessie down so that it's crafted for your needs, the university's needs specifically.
Okay.
So you catch a broader database there.
Okay. And Nessie, that's the accreditation? What is the Nessie?
It's Nessie and Bessie, right? Nessie and Bessie. I don't know
Okay.
the names, the
Okay.
national.
Okay.
students or-
Well, thank you.
But those questions are core questions
Yeah.
for you to also justify either the program and the funding or the retention. You captured it very early.
Yes. Yes. Good point. Yeah. Very early and see the movement over the years. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. We're getting late, so I'm just going to breeze through these conclusions. So, in essence, we think the first year of SCI produced promising results in a cost-effective manner. The provost has said, I like the intervention, but money's tight. So we'll see. But we're hoping that our promising results can allow for additional expansion and support of this initiative. And so we want to innovate as well, right? We want to look at students at varying levels of academic risk. We want to see how this would impact students of other race ethnicity that may also be first-generation students at high risk. We want to see the results with other race and ethnicity. Can a weekly intervention produce even better results? This was a bi-weekly intervention. We want to test dosage. And maybe a weekly intervention can be even more effective. So you want to kind of test that as well. And also we want to examine the impact on our mentors, right? The video, I think, demonstrated how the mentors benefited. I've had students tell me that the mentors tell me that it benefited them when it came down to interviewing for jobs, post-graduation. I got reference calls because I supervised them in this initiative, and it was very helpful for kind of separating them from the other candidates for jobs. So I want to try to assess that as well. That's it. Thank you for your time, and we definitely want to leave time for questions, but if you ever want to reach me, here's my information, email address and phone call.